Hey, hello. Welcome back, everybody, to another stream. Coming in early today because I am very busy after this, and also I want to come in before Trade Reality goes live. So I don't know, man. Just like let me try in a bit earlier, just for today. I think tomorrow should be back at 1:30, so it's not a regular thing. This early stream. Just thought I'd give you guys a full hour, but give you guys that a bit earlier. Okay, let's get started with yesterday and then just move from there. Yesterday was a pretty sort of decent day. I mean, if you look at sort of the consolidation, we reached sort of kind of consensus that we'll probably look to go higher. And just looking at it from the basis of just looking at this as a consolidation zone, and from here to here, you can see that the price did in fact sort of consolidate and also give you guys drops, and even to the New York range, drops to the low. Once we work lows this much, again 1, 2, 3 times, you could easily get a rise out of it. But with this rise, if you were asleep, it would have been an unfortunate sort of mistiming where you come in and you're like, oh no, it's down more than I realize. So that's why partial profits again at these highs, or so this Asia high here, as you can see, we reached that sort of trap liquidity here before sort of pushing down. If we sort of look at that on Bookmap, we can sort of see that heavy sort of offset of actually let's sort of just zoom in, so we're just getting not sort of today's information. Just get the information from yesterday. As you can see, sort of this area here we talked about in terms of where we've been stopping out and touching these lows. You can see how they came in. Second time they came in was a bit sort of on the buy heavy, so that's why they had to reach around and come for the third. I mean, they were rejecting pretty heavily on the sort of VWAP, so you could have easily sort of seen this as like, okay, you know what, they're playing with a VWAP, but they're not really taking liquidity and moving back in under. They're rather moving to it, trying to trap longs and liquidating those longs, and at these sort of shallow stops. So they're working these stops, and you sort of have to start realizing that okay, they're sort of preparing for a larger move higher, and that just equated to sort of the stop hunt from Asia, where we took out the previous high. And if we go back to it, there we go, the previous high just coming up just slightly above that. So you can see from here the builds up. I mean, realistically here, where we have the majority of the volume, that just becomes your resistance from there on out. You can see the initial one, then your stop hunt, and some people might have just taken the short off based on the stop hunt, but again, I would have not followed you guys. If you did that, you'd probably want to come back again when you start rejecting it here, as you can see, and start being more additive and just moving below, sort of back to the previous day's sort of addition point. So all yesterday was just an accumulation of longs. Then they just stop hunt to grab more longs before sort of pushing down. So that was sort of the major structure from yesterday. A nice sort of point to sort of keep on memory, because if you did short early, again, it's not an issue. It's just understanding where you'd stop would have been placed. Ideally, you'd have placed it on this high and been taken out here, which is kind of unfortunate, but you'd have to come back in at a later date or time, probably around here. So again, it does sort of hold dividends to sort of just keep your sort of load or keep your sort of positions just manageable size, and understand that okay, even if you do get stopped out off of yesterday, you'd want to come in when we are a lot safer. But again, yesterday was a clear sign that we were working lows, so there was some rise expected. We did sort of move into sort of almost, I think, into sort of 50% of this sort of Monday, Tuesday range. Again, I think it would have been up here, which would have been a perfect case if we reached it again. Not always going to get a perfect case, but generally you see where we close at, and just understand that if you did have sort of manual stops here, you see all the volume concentrated at this area. This is just to take out stops. This is where you have your actual traders at. So it's just okay that you know that anything closing around here is safe for you to enter into sort of long positions. Anything above is just stop hunts. As you can see, this just stop hunted this, but the closes came in the same thing here. We closed a bit lower, but generally around the same area, and same here where we close up here. So once we start seeing this, we start understanding, oh, okay, you know what, it's not really sort of an atypical. All it is just a consolidation range pushed out into a stop hunt, and we close volume pretty much higher. Then there was your drop for today. So again, just keep that for future reference. I think is the main thing you want to do that for. It's the main reason why we do these yesterday reviews. Is so we can get that sort of context from yesterday. It's like, okay, this played out. What's the likelihood of it playing out next time? Is it something that we want to monitor? Let's say this plays out again and again and again. Obviously, you'd want to keep that pattern again. Understanding where closes are relative to where wicks are is something that I know that plays out, because it's just understanding where the volume is concentrated rather than being concentrated on this wick. Volume was in fact concentrated on this sort of area here, and we sort of just move it to where it's relevant. There we go. As you can see, the sort of larger sort of volume comes in around here, and also where we stop hunt this. So you can see where volume in fact did come above. So again, just keep that. ETH after this, of course. Yeah, we'll do ETH after this. Now looking at today, where we're looking, what we're looking for. I mean, if we see we got the drop down, we're printing out sort of bearish sort of patterns. So we already know we're in like a discounted territory in terms of market wise. 4 patterns to play out. Realistically, I mean, do we have downside available to us? I think we might have some downside. If anything, it would just be to where we've been looking for the last, I think, week or two now. Into actually last week rather, Monday, which is the sort of 16,500 area. We could stop it a bit higher, but I doubt we will, just because there's a lot of greed in sort of crypto, so there's a lot of desire to hold things until liquidation. So it might take it down to here, but generally looking at sort of this sort of bar, I mean, we're not too sad about it stopping where it is stopping. I should see the entire bar. There we go. It's pretty much just stopping center of sort of bar mass, as you can see here, probably where we have sort of the majority of the concentration of the volume. So I'll remove this and just look at. Again, always got to refresh this. Looking at sort of where Bitcoin's walls are, as you can see, we're just heavy into sort of this wall, this entire sort of area where we just liquidate, and some liquidations, not too much. You can see, actually, I think liquidations went off, but very fast moving, nothing really catching it. So it just shows that a lot of liquidations did in fact enter the market. So you can see this area of short where we sort of have this sort of ceiling. That's will become support if we start pushing higher. But looking at things, you have this sort of concentrated sort of foot. Could definitely see this taper lower, especially if this keeps being persistent. So one thing you got to look for is if we start peeling away from this without fully taking the bids off the table, and this still stays up, we could definitely look for this as a future point of reference. Right now, it is our current point to say, okay, this is a high. This is where our wall's been put when we've been peeling away. This is our standard point to say, okay, you know what, if we come down, we're going to come down off of this. So definitely look for maybe further downside currently. Don't want latest news, want to see calendars. I think today is a pretty quiet day in terms of calendar news. If we look at sort of where US comes in at 8:30, no, it's not a quiet day. Non-farm productivity, not anything non-farm is usually decent. 10:30 looks like a major time. Got a lot of crude oil and just oil related things. Oil's one of the major sort of market things, so we'll sort of want to be paying attention to sort of crude oil. So again, it might look like 10:30. It might be sort of today's time. Sort of say, okay, if we do start peeling downwards, if we start pushing this down, if 10:30 comes, we can maybe try reverse of this. But looking at how far we've extended, I mean, we exhausted sort of London. I think we can easily say New York might be happy in consolidating this for a bit longer until we reach sort of a tipping point where we do finally swipe down. The only trouble is the fact that we're pretty sort of low in sort of the discounted sort of market, so we might be laying traps in sort of bearish sort of in form of bearish patterns. For instance, any bear flags that we are seeing could be very much a point where we say, okay, you know what, they're just printing this, so we go down, then we go higher when people start buying the break at this sort of point here. They get liquidated. Who knows? They get we fill in this, then we start pushing up. So that's sort of the only major sort of red flag to wanting to trade this down. Is if we start moving down and you start seeing reactions where they are absorbing pressure off of these sort of buys, and you can see the previous week's high, in range high, not high, but it is at this area here. So once we sort of fill this in here, it could definitely signal a potential reversal. That's sort of your only sort of contention, because people will sort of trade this and say, okay, you know what, we're gonna go down further to at least here. They expect it to try take this low out. Maybe we do, but in actual fact, they only enter the trade in here to capture the rest of the move, so they'll be late to the trade. So if anything, they'll retrace it back, and your entry for a short would be present much higher. Again, it's just logical sense. What did we want to look at? There we go. Not this. Anyway, what we're on here, I mean, it was one of the coins that we looked at yesterday as a potential. As you can see, slammed down, trapped liquidity, then bounced off of this. So again, could have given you guys a nice trade. Okay, since it's holding this, maybe we see it try pull itself a bit higher. Who knows? Based on this, I mean, see how far it can go in the grand scheme of things, but it's now trading into, I mean, traded into that 4-hour resistance pretty nicely. If it can start breaking, maybe it starts breaking to this 2.3, but we wanted Bitcoin, not this. I don't know, today I'm feeling kind of mellow, not feeling as agitated. Looking at sort of Bitcoin on the 4-hour, you can see that is this the right one? Yes, futures. Oh yeah, it's the right one. We can see where we came down on this sort of 4-hour to take out that liquidity. It's very thin in terms of volume wise. We already know that. I mean, the volume that did exist was just sort of stop out volume. You can see the longs did come in here just slightly above. So again, start happenstance that we may start risking this sliding down, and this is where we ultimately were looking for since we've been up here. It's been a kind of, it feels like a long time. Yeah, it's been a long time since we've been up here trying to look for this completion to then pull it up. Again, we're looking, it's just more of the same things where we see that volume trap here. It will further sort of push down sort of liquidity, but we know this area is sort of a mixed bag of sort of shorts as well as some longs, but majority of that is just volume based on sort of that last wick here. If we zoom in further, start looking at sort of just a consolidation area, we can see that, yeah, we do have some longs, but again, there's a lot of sort of people anti on that short. So if you are looking for a reversal on a short, it'll be a push higher into here, then your short will probably bring that down, because maybe that will bring that down further, because that's the only way you can really justify a push. Oh, almost a straight line. Is when we sort of capture this sort of area here, start building, start taking out that short volume that we did accumulate here, and sort of did at this sort of liquidations there. I mean, because once we have liquidations, we do also have people adding positions on the reverse side to catch those liquidations. So they need to sort of sell positions up higher to people who are willing to buy in terms of breakout. They think it's a potential bar reversal. That sort of is a position you'd want to go short at. And this is again where you'd ideally want to go long at. Pretty sort of decent sort of range to play. In the meanwhile, yeah, it's a largish range, I'd say. Nothing sort of too set in stone already. We'll look at ETH, then we'll look at ES and see if that will cooperate with us. Again, this is sort of only our real contention is us absorbing here, then pulling down. If we start pulling down again, just look for that long at that lower levels. That's 16, around 16,500. Not going to be too exact here. Again, he's showing pretty much same symptoms prevalent in Bitcoin. But we were striking down, collecting a lot of sort of short volume, but we do have that sort of bid wall entered into here. So it could go and sort of tick that up higher before sort of pushing down. Generally, you see that sort of slide where they tried catching it, but fell miserably here. It's a lot more short than it is long. And I think that's just inherent of Bitcoin. I mean, not Bitcoin, ETH. It's just a characteristic of it to do that. Again, pretty heavy on this side. Pretty much sort of all short volume. You see, it's dropped a lot further than actual sort of Bitcoin. If you look at it on a charts perspective, it's just missed this by a hair. We talked about 1275 as a point of rejection, and we did get that yesterday. So hopefully you did manage to short that. And that was more realized on Bookmap. As you can see, that 175 would need to load in data for this to actually make sense. That's one of the benefits of having historical data sometimes, is you get to look back. The trick to not having and not paying for it is paying historical data for Bookmap is just keep your Bookmap on 24/7. Then they can't just say no, you can't have that data. No, yeah, you get 3 days worth of local data, I think, on the cheapest plan. So local just means whatever you have, or you can just steal someone else's sort of log file. Just say, hey yo, can I borrow that real quick? I need that local history. It's hurting right there. I need it. And you're like, sure, take it. But we got that spike high. I mean, it was what we're looking for as a swing high. It's pretty nice that we got it. I mean, we did have sort of a very large sort of buffer from here to here, where you could have, I mean, DCA'd an entry here and here. You'd only have gotten this, but I mean, you'd have been happy. I mean, I don't think anyone would have been sad. It depends on the type of person you are. But yeah, generally ETH did go a lot better. I mean, it did swing a bit higher, but generally it's moving down. We can break the wall. I don't think so. I mean, ETH already is at this stage where Bitcoin should be. It's moved a lot further down. I mean, Bitcoin right now is lollygagging at here, whereas ETH already made it all the way down to sort of this point. We talked about potentially this being sort of a retest, so we'll see if that ends up paying out, where we swipe maybe one more time before pushing up, or we just push up. But it's yet to be seen. I think generally right now you should be in a position to look for longs, just because you should already be in a short. If you're not in a short, still look for longs. Just be patient about it. Don't force anything. Oh, do we? Oh, hell yeah. There we go. Yeah, we sort of pushed out. Now we're sort of looking to see if that was just grab liquidity, and if they start pushing down, or if they just go for a run. I doubt they'll go for a run from here. Wouldn't make too much sense to do it at this time. Actually, you know what? If they go for a run, they'll just go to take out these highs here, and we'll see if they just go for, I mean, even down to here, because this just becomes, I mean, this is the weekly range. Extend that out, then this will just be cement itself as a stop hunt, and this just be a stop hunt. I mean, we could again drop it further. I would ideally want here again. we always talk about what we want and versus what we get. Sometimes we don't get what we want, but generally I don't think too much. I'm not thinking too much of it. If anything, wait for a retest. I mean, we still have this to reject off of for today. The very large sort of point to reject off of to short down. But right now it's still pretty much unstable. Stable-ish territories, especially if we start closing here, we start building and accruing sort of volume. Say this is pushing down. We'll see what ends up happening with this stop hunt. Better to sort of look at this in Bookmap. Just sliding high. You can see volume was here. They're just sliding. See if this an aggression move from the VWAP traders. And the VWAP traders push to here, then pull it down just to get the range out of oh damn, these insane liquidations. Realistic, you can see that all of this push was just from these shorts that were entered in. So definitely, if it is going higher at this point in time, might want to look to reverse that. And like it will be maybe one of the instances where we sort of play out this sort of flag to the downside. We do have points higher for it to sort of cap out at that, like we talked about. Once we sort of hit those, look for that sort of reversal. Let's see. I think this most likely is no, it's not even. Now, if you look at ES, I mean, this finally worked for some reason. I don't know. I didn't do anything different. It just works. It's a lot more long heavy. I mean, you can see the drop relative to where Bitcoin had in terms of stops taken. You can see a bunch of stops were taken on this sort of swing, sort of hit up a bunch of sort of gradual longs that we sort of look at. So this again could look like it could easily just buck under, give you a retest here, then push down further. I think that might be something that we look at. So just waiting for Bitcoin to react accordingly because it is moving pretty much out of sync. But if it goes up, you guys are not too fast. What's this stop step? Get some lucky. There we go. You can see that there we go. There's our support line that we wanted it to trade to. It traded to it, traded past, now rejected. Our next sort of rejection point, I mean, our next sort of support level is at 38.75. Pretty far down, pretty much a very wide spread. Not spread, just very wide in general in terms of, not really, but relativistically, one could argue. Yeah, I mean, we're at the previous sort of volume area here. We know that there's a bunch of longs that have been sort of collected at this sort of 4-hour mark, and over the course of 4 hours hasn't been overtly bearish. I mean bullish, where it's been collecting shorts, whereas this probably did collect shorts. It did reject off here, so we could definitely see this maybe try continue down to take out these stops. If there is a lot of stops in the system, could be something that then we bounce off later. If it pushes down, it'll push down Bitcoin. There you go. You see how we stop high, starting to close off here. We'll see if that ends up just reversing on itself and just pushing down. But in this area, I think let's see, mark out the weekly range distances from, there we go, 250 comes in here. Sort of, actually I think better if I just do 500. There we go, 500 goes here, 250 comes in about 166. So I should do this from here to here. There we go. Again, already looking like a potential stop on, but this is expected distances we might have to get in terms of deviation wise. Again, comes back into this sort of area that we looked at before. Anything below is just like, okay, you know what, they're just breaking down from this. If they do come in early, just look for a retest to get into. Again, not holding too much hope for this in the grand scheme of things, especially if it goes in and then pulls it back out. That's sort of where you'd want to look at in terms of breaking short. I guess there's not too much to say. I can keep this on the shorter side of streams. I mean, you guys, unless you guys got questions, there we go. We're moving up faster now, collecting more and more for ETH. We'll see if a proportional amount of liquidations. We'll see how. I think ETH can have a higher jump. We'll see if we can collect a bit higher, maybe at 1240. There's sort of that push down, pushing up, probably hit out into the VWAP. There we go. Push it. Yeah, I think it does push it a bit further. I don't know when it ends up reversing, but it should start looking to sort of slow down again. Anytime we do it this early, it's not usually a good sign in terms of directional moves. Again, pushing up into this sort of thick wall. We do have a lot of shorts here from the previous day that are added to this. But if we start adding longs, again pushes the drive for liquidation because we got a heavy sort of short on this leg. So they said, okay, we know we need to get these liquidations in control. You can see the liquidations here, here, and here. So the more liquidations they get, the more closer they are to sort of trying to reverse price and push it down. Yeah, there's not really too much to say. You guys got any questions? Because I probably need to start. I don't need to start getting ready to go out, but actually, now I've got time. I got some time, yeah. I look at gold. It's been a while, but again, it's just staying in with lines that we've drawn before. Where we did come back to this. We talked about potentially looking at for it to go higher. You see it reject off here one time. There, give you a retest here. Finally push this higher point here. Could definitely see this go down if this does continue to go down. Stocks may start recovering, but I think everyone was talking about 3,000 gold. I don't see it. I don't think I see it. In terms of weekly sort of range, we came up onto this week. 3 days spent on this high, just trapping, pushing down. If it goes higher, taps this, could see it go down much further and just cement itself back into this sort of mid-range between this area here. I think we start looking for it to reach 17.31, 17.13 as sort of not optimistic, as realistic targets. It'll sort of take out these stops here that people have entered in from these positions, because they probably didn't have sort of adequate sort of areas to enter into breakouts. Yeah, again, not really too much to say. We've done ES, we've done Bitcoin, we've done ETH. Starting to lose steam now. We'll see if that steam goes for a third wind, hits out into these walls and pushes down. I'm interested in seeing is how these been moving upwards, retreating. To some extent, they have. They've been sort of consolidating a bit higher every now and again, but most of the time they've been letting it hit, which is nice to see because they're catching these liquidations instead of letting them push price higher. I mean, they have sort of a likely stopping distance in mind before actually taking it down further. We already know there's nothing sort of too fancy going on. 100 million. Yeah, no real. I mean, 10 minutes until news embargo lifts. I don't think I want to wait till then. Probably see it. Actually, if you see price reverse, probably see it after the next 10 minutes. So if you do grab into a short, if it does spike high, I doubt it will. If it's looking like it wants to hit up into here and reject, again, Monday's low, VWAP's at Monday's low, daily VWAP rather, might see it spike down. I mean, hit previous week mid, see if it goes to the open. Again, we've got a large sort of distance to cover in terms of deviation wise for a stop hunt, or sort of pulling it back into a bullish sign. Anything going back into here is probably sort of bearish. I don't think it does that. I think it pushes down, then goes high. Thursdays usually like to take the sort of counter trend, because again you can see Monday, Tuesday perfectly create a nice range for it. Wednesday just stop punts everybody out, lets everyone go short. If we reverse back up high, could be sort of nice, and look for that sort of 17,500 from that sort of second test that we may have been looking for. And in terms of number wise, sort of completes the sort of inefficiencies. If we go down and go up to 17,500. So I think that's pretty much what I'm looking for the entirety of the day. Again, I know that I'm coming in a bit early, so you guys have a lot of time to prepare, and no excuses, okay, none, in terms of what to do. Is this futures? Yeah, it's futures. Damn. Looks like we have a new daily line here, so don't forget to add that. Don't forget to add that to your guys' charts at 16,948. It's a daily support and resistance. So we see if that sort of breaks. I'll see that on lower time frames and see when that's breaking. That's why you need to zoom out and snap every now and again, because you guys we may end up missing something that we may have may have provided us with some semblance of information. Again, pushing high, just taking out these stops, pushing back to this area that we talked about. Could definitely see it go down further. That's pretty much all I'm thinking of today. We'll see what ends up happening. Again, just remember your set times for today are 8:30, which is in 8 minutes, and 10:30 this time. Probably want to skip out 10. I mean, we've got the Bank of Canada's interest rate decision. Be interesting to see if Canada can affect people. I doubt it can, because remember, Canada is an imaginary place full of imaginary people. So ignore it. It can't hurt you. Other than that, not real too much information. We probably might get that whipsaw from 10 to 8, or 10 to 10:30. But generally, if we're sort of pushing down, or push down at that 9:30, push it back down. Maybe 10:30 gives us a better sort of rallying pressure, if anything, for today. Thank you guys so much for coming. Hopefully you guys this has been helpful. I know I'm cutting it short. Again, I've got to go to the doctors, so I can't sort of risk missing this one. So I'll catch you guys tomorrow on the normal time, which is at 8:30 EST instead of at 8 o'clock to 8:30. I know, weird. But enjoy the rest of your day, guys. If you missed the start of the stream, make sure to go back, watch it. It was a super chill stream today. No insanity. But enjoy the rest of your day, lovely folks, and I will catch you guys tomorrow.